Hello, you're watching World Talks. My name is Sasha Farbach. Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban's party Fidesz is facing its toughest elections yet, as most polls put the opposition Tisza party with its leader Péter Magyar ahead of the incumbent government. Now, Magyar promises to realign the country with Western blocs such as NATO and the European Union, while Orban warns of chaos and poverty if Hungarians choose the party that wants to play ball with Brussels.
It is clear that Hungary has only two options in strategic terms. We have to choose between them. Both are possible. Both have their own outlines. They have a clear body, substance, and you can choose either one. The first one is to join the Brussels policy. I think this would be catastrophic and would lead to chaos and poverty. We would simply hitch Hungary's car to the European train. The future Hungary will be a stable, predictable, peaceful country. A place where there is no need to fear either war or uncertainty, where there is no need to fear tomorrow. Our country will once again be an active and credible member of the European Union and NATO.
And now to explore all this further, we're now joined by István Hegedűs, chairman of the Hungarian Europe Society. Welcome back to TVP World. Good to have you.
Thank you for the invitation.
I want to start with these two clips. Two different men, the Prime Minister, Mr. Orban, warning against chaos and poverty. If we look, if I'm indeed correct, it's well over 20 years now that Hungary has been an EU member. Has it been chaos and poverty because of Brussels? What do we make of the Prime Minister's statements?
Of course, for all observers and analyzers, this is just government propaganda, a very Eurosceptic or anti-European language what Orban has used for a while. And even if he doesn't say at the moment, at least, that Hungary should leave the EU, his rhetoric is very much against anti-Brussels, as he calls it. He tries to make a difference between the EU and Brussels that has no sense from an analytical perspective. Of course, Hungary has received a lot of financial support from the EU budget, and Hungary is a full-fledged member state of the European Union since 2004.
Mm-hmm. So, indeed, we've heard this before. Orban has made very much a recent career out of being one of the most prolific anti-Brussels politicians in Europe. But at the same time, it does seem to be changing, or is it changing? Péter Magyar, from his own ranks, really one of the first kind of opposition leaders. Could this really be that moment, if we're looking at those new elections? Could Tisza pull this off and finally replace Viktor Orban?
There is a hope for all those Hungarian citizens who dislike Orban now for a while, that this time and this new leader, Péter Magyar, has a chance to win. According to the polls, he has a clear majority if we had elections next Sunday. But we have to be very cautious, because the whole electoral machinery, the resources what the government has, all the oligarchs who support him, the electoral system, a media field which is totally uneven supporting Orban's regime, we all know that it would be very, very hard. Moreover, the opposition is still partly fragmented, although, as you said, Magyar leads the polls and his party, Tisza, leads the polls alone. But in the individual constituencies, there might be some other challengers, candidates from other opposition parties, which might create a fragmented outcome when Fidesz might win in the individual constituencies with a relative majority, let's say 40% and not 50%. And that means that Magyar's victory is not sure at all at the moment.
Mm-hmm. I think one of those main points as well, we've been speaking to various commentators about Hungary, is of course the cost of living. That matters to Hungarians very much. pricing, the Hungarian economy not doing the best, the currency not really rising as much as it perhaps could. Looking also at energy, that's going to be a big factor here, isn't it? I mean, at this point, it seems Hungary has increased its dependency on Russian oil and gas from, I think, 61% in 2022, now going into 80%. I mean, is there any kind of course correction ahead? How much influence does the EU have here to change that? And does this really bring down prices for ordinary Hungarians?
Yes, the economic situation is really much worse than a couple of years ago. There is no real GDP growth compared to neighboring countries, especially Poland. Hungary is on the bottom at the moment. And that has changed the mood of the population. On the other hand, it will be again an election about identity and moreover, whether you love Orban or whether you hate Orban. But you are of course right that energy prices are part of the problem, and the government's rhetoric is that we need Russian gas and oil and there is no substitution, which is of course not true. There are many EU countries which has changed their policy, and there are many other routes how to get gas and oil from other pipelines or from renewable energies and so on. But the government insists on this Russian special relationship. Maybe it's part of a bigger geopolitical gamble, what Orban has started, let's say, 10 years ago, being somewhere in between East and West. Now, the EU can do a lot, and moreover, Donald Trump can do, maybe not because he wants to do anything against Orban, who is ideologically very close to Trump, but Trump might decide to introduce new sanctions against countries which buy Russian gas and oil. And that might be devastating for Orban's ideas. And that might push this government and the next government, hopefully, to change the energy policy and portfolio.
Mm-hmm. Just briefly at the end, I'm aware, I think, through some reports that actually it's the opposite. As you said, that Hungarians are actually paying some of the highest gas prices in the European Union. Just on the topic of Trump, really quickly, this is a relationship that Orban touted for a long time, but it doesn't seem visibly as close as he'd like. Do you think that's going to be also course correction? Just quickly at the end.
Well, Orban hoped that he would be Trump's man within the European Union. It doesn't work. Orban has not been even invited to the White House. There is nothing coming out from this ideological closeness to Trump. Giorgia Meloni or others, even the Finnish president, have much more links to Trump than Orban. So Hungary is a relatively small country, and it came out that Orban alone cannot be the strong man of Europe, what he had hoped for so long.
Mm-hmm. All right. So, of course, he's going to be trying that rhetoric. It's going to be an interesting election as we near it, and we'll see what the outcome is. Look, really appreciate the update. Really interesting. István Hegedűs there. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
And thank you for watching World Talks. But stay with us. There's much more coming up right here on TVP World. Goodbye.